Hello and welcome to the Winter 2019 Quarterly Leaders Meeting. This was the meeting that we were going to have at the last week, but due to some back issues, I couldn't stand up on Sunday. And so I think this is maybe the best way to accomplish getting out the information from that meeting to you in a timely manner, because you know our church schedule from Thanksgiving through Christmas. There's lots and lots of things going on, and so it just didn't feel like it was going to be practical to kind of call everybody together for the meeting. So I thought I would just walk through the content this way in a timely manner, and maybe not so much details, and certainly we won't be able to do questions and answers at the end. But let me kind of, as you see me looking down, I'm also running the controls for the meeting. So let me kind of get the agenda up here, and the things that we're going to cover in this video real quickly are more the packet review, stats and trends, and training features. And so we'll kind of walk through some things really kind of quickly as we do the meeting. So let's kind of talk about what's in the packet, shall we? And so the packet materials and a little bit of why. So in the packet, and if you haven't received your packet, we put them in with the notebooks Sunday so that you can kind of catch up to this material. If you need copies, feel free to use any of the copy machines around the church, over in the B building, upstairs. You know, there's copiers available. So there's a white group roster directory. We did this with family members so that you can tell who's in what families. And just a note, you can print this out in Shelby anytime you want. That's probably another video for another day, but you can do a lot of things with this form. The second thing that's in the packet is a roll sheet, and this roll sheet has with it the kind of basic roll that you get every Sunday, but it also has the date last attended. You can use this form, and you print this out really easily in Shelby with a home computer as well. But it's a great way to make quick lists, like a call list or birthday list, something like that, because you have some control over that second field. But I thought it was interesting to look at date last attended, and so I put that in there. Then we have the yellow prospect directory. You've heard Jared say it a lot, and people's attention, if they're going to attend church, are probably going to give it a good thought over the next few weeks. And so this is a great time to reach out to all your prospects, invite them, make them feel welcome, make plans to meet them at a door, to bring them to the class, introduce them to the group, maybe take this prospect list and make multiple copies and get different people to take different sections. And then use Shelby to log all of those contacts so that we know that we're actively working those prospects. Also in the packet are the hot lists, and so I've gone back to kind of making some set lists for you. So the yellow sheet is those that have missed the last 3 Sundays. Red sheet, those people that have missed 6 Sundays in a row. And then the blue sheet, people who have really gotten kind of cool to us but missed the last 9 Sundays or more in a row. And so absentee members can easily be identified and contacted through ShelbyNext. And so that's a lot of what we're going to be stressing in these videos today, or in this video today. So 3 times they ask, does my group miss me? 6 times they kind of answer that question. I'm pretty sure they miss me. And if they've missed 9 weeks in a row and never been contacted, they pretty much know how or feel a certain way that we don't really care about them. So making contacts to absentees members is very, very important. Just as important to making contacts to contacts as well, prospects. Also in the packet is the Welcome Center sheet. It's the 2-sided multicolored sheet, just so that you know what classes are where and who leads what classes. And that's just helpful information, I think. And so this is the same information that's used by the First Impressions team to help people find Bible studies along with the group finder. And so these are just documents that are readily available around in our church. So that's just kind of what's in the packet. If there's something that you need and you'd like to see put in the packet, please let me know, and I'll do my best to do that as well. As we look at some of the stats and trends that are happening in our church, just want to share real quickly with you about these things. And so Worship attendance, as we look at the graphs for worship attendance, they look kind of similar, but I went ahead and combined them together, and so the blue line is last year, the orange line is this year, and so you can kind of see we're kind of following a similar pattern in worship, and you can kind of pick out, the high Sundays of like Easter and those Christmas, those Sundays, but by and large we're following the same line. I do want to point out that towards the end of the line, our worship attendance has been running under where we were this time last year, and so I know that this is an opportunity to reach out and make sure that you're encouraging people in your group to be faithful in attending worship as well. And so take that for what it's worth. Just to blow up because I really want to kind of study the graph, but we're kind of hovering right around that 600 mark in worship, and I think that's pretty good. It could be better, but I think it's pretty good. Then I also want to look at Sunday school attendance totals, and again I took the two graphs, and they're kind of similar, and I combined them together, blue being last year, orange being this year. And you can kind of see we follow roughly a similar pattern each year, and so you can kind of pick those things out. But we are running ahead a little bit of where we were last year, and so I'm very encouraged by that. As Tim has kind of come online and our youth ministry numbers and are beginning to stabilize and begin to move forward and reach some new faces in our student ministry. Tracy and Melva always do a great job, and you're doing a great job. As we came through the schedule change, we actually picked up some momentum in the adult division, and we'll see that in just a second. And let's look at that adult division. So again, the two graphs, very similar in pattern, but a little more of an uptick in the adult division, and you can kind of look at that, and you can pick out some of the things of, like when we were in the gym, if you counted back Sundays and those types of things. But all in all, I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing in attendance right now. You're doing a great job. Continue to reach out to people, invite people. One of the things I love hearing is when going through the line, greeting new members, is when somebody, I hear over and over in the line, do you have a Sunday school class? People wanting people to be a part of their Bible study. And so making space, continuing to create new units really is important to the overall life and health of our church. And so definitely want to encourage you, always be praying about, is our group ready to start a new unit? Do we have a group, a core within our larger group that would be a great start to a new unit that we could bless and send on their way to make new places for new people? And so looking at the two graphs together, you can kind of see we follow a very similar pattern to what happens in worship, obviously. And we run a little bit behind. Blue is worship, orange is Sunday school attendance. And so I think they're good graphs, good numbers this time. And so we're healthy, we're maintaining, we're growing a little. I'd love to see us grow faster in reaching new groups and making places for people. But it's all about building relationships, and that can't be rushed. We have to be genuine in calling people and inviting people and making them feel welcome in our Sunday school. So that's just kind of some of the stats real quick that are happening in our church. And let's talk a little bit about some Shelby training kind of things. And so as we think about Shelby, it has become a really important tool to our church. A lot of things are flowing through Shelby, and it continues to grow and doing more and more things for our congregation. So I just want to share just some updates that have happened. I'm really going to kind of be focused in on a cell phone today, but we're going to look at these kind of things here. I think there's 5 of them. Some basic mobile basics, some attendance guest basics, how to deal with interactions, and then updating information. And so we'll take those kinds of things and kind of look at them, and I'll switch back and forth between the presentation screen and my wife's Shelby account. Okay, so let's look at some Shelby things. And I think as we look at this, it's just kind of some basic things, consistently improving and updating. That is a function of why, one of the reasons we chose Shelby. Some of the things that we talked about, when we started with ShelbyNext have changed because it is a web mobile platform. Anytime you sign up for an account or you have delete your account or sync back, the thing that normally throws people on the cell phone is it asks for a domain. Our domain is FBCRR. That's how Shelby identifies us. So just as you were entering FBCRR.ShelbyNextCMH, which stands for Church Management System.com, you have to put in that FBCRR on your mobile device to sign in. And that's normally, once you do that, it's kind of like, that's easy. The majority of our attendance reporting is now happening electronically. It's like 60-some% of our units are entering their attendance electronically. Member input is important and valued in Shelby. Everybody's an individual, and the better our groups deal with information about their members and keeping that information up to date, it's shared throughout our ministry organization and allows us to do great ministry with people. So those are just kind of some general notes that I wanted to emphasize. So let's talk about some mobile basics. Provide your login. And so once you're logged in, you're going to see individuals. You're going to see the individuals you're limited to by your groups. You're going to see the groups that are limited that you're limited to. Interactions are mine, outstanding and completed, and then you can see a calendar date range. And so let me kind of step through those real quick to kind of show you on my wife's cell phone here. So this is actually, I'm logged in as Jeannie, and as you can see, we've got these tabs. We've got individual. That's the people that I can see. So if I touch Jeannie's individual tab, these are the people that are in the groups that she provides leadership to. And so I can, add someone to my group down by using I'm using a Android phone, so I can add somebody to my group by putting the information in. And so if you also have the ability to correct information and add information. I can see the groups that I have provided leadership to. And this is one of the places where we made kind of a big change in that instead of doing this individually by class, now we've used a new feature called leader role. And so we kind of have all of our adult division kind of separated out, and whoever is assigned a leader role automatically gets this. So it'll kind of keep down some of the, when we change a setting, being able to change it for everybody much easier. And so any groups that in Sunday school that you provide leadership for will show here, and any other groups that you're a part of. So then we see interactions, and so these are interactions that have been assigned to Jeannie. We can see the ones that are outstanding or that haven't been completed, and then we can see the list of those that have been completed. The plus down at the bottom is I can make an interaction. And so I can log. So if I do log, let's say you went and visited a class member in the hospital, you can select what type of interaction you had. And you can just log it, it dates it, attaches it to the record for that individual, so that somebody else like me, say I'm going, I could look up that information, and I could see that, oh, you were there yesterday, and take advantage of that as your class deals with prospects. If somebody talks with a prospect, logging that interaction builds a picture of how we're trying to reach to those individuals. We can also deal with assigning prospects. Let's say you want someone in your group to contact somebody. Well, you can say, I'd like for you to make a prospect call to, and then you can pick an individual from your prospect list just by searching for them. And you can't see my search is going to be difficult for me because it's hiding under the thing that's allowing me to show my phone. But there is a underneath the little icon in the corner that I can't move is a search bar and a search icon, and I can search for people by name. Then I can assign it to somebody in my group. So I could say, I want to assign Julie this contact, and so that's helpful to do that. And then there's a place to make some notes. And then you can also do a due date at the bottom, and that puts in a nag. And so we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but that's interactions. The church calendar is available to you, and it's going to show, I think it's about 6 to 7 weeks. It depends a little bit on the number of people, but you can roll through and you can kind of, see that the library is open, and it'll give you some base information about that. And so those are some of the base features that every leader has in ShelbyNext. And so as we also look at it now, those are dealing with just information lookup and dealing with information that comes to you. There's also a set of icons that allow us to do some other things like attendance. A lot of you know how to do attendance, and we're going to talk specifically about attendance in just a second. Contacts, ways that you can make contact from your phone to your group. Check-in, which applies really to maybe some of our younger groups only, because that's related to the check-in name badge system that's used in preschool and children's division. And yes, you can give, you can do your tithe through ShelbyNext as well. And so let's go back to Jeannie's phone here. And those features that I talked about are in the blue box across the bottom in an Android phone. And so I can do attendance, and just by selecting my group. So if I wanted to do attendance for young professionals, today is always today. And so one of the things, you can go back and correct attendance or add someone that maybe you forgot, but you have to always change the date then. So Sunday is always Sunday if it's today. But all you have to do to mark attendance is just go through and just touch the names, and that then marks them present. I get the cancel button here. And so back out of that. Contact is to do mass contacts. And so here you can select your Sunday school class. I can give it a subject matter. I could say prayer list, and I could type in the prayer list information. And then I could do the text of what I wanted to send. And then I could note it if it was a log if I wanted to. So I can email from this app. I can send a text message from this app. It doesn't charge your phone. It's a service for us. The interesting thing is if somebody responds to the text, it will email you at your primary email address. And you can do a voice recording. Basically, this is a robocall. And so I encourage you not to do that unless it's something like you're having a Christmas party and Round Rock gets 6 inches of snow and you wanted to wish everybody Merry Christmas but encourage them not to get out and drive. That would be a good use for the robocall. Then there's check-in, which you see there is a baby boy called Testing Stare, and he's used to check the kiosk systems in the morning on Sunday mornings. But I can, and I see this because Testing Stare is in a group that does check-in, but you can touch the group that he's in. That's my test group. You can see you can do allergies and colds and things like that. That's an editable field. So as a parent in your group, if there's something that changes and you could help them understand that they can put instructions on the name tag, different instructions each Sunday. So, teething or something like that. And I hit done, and it'll mark Testing Stare's attendance. And so this works from about about a half-mile radius of the church. So literally families could be checking their children in and printing name tags as they drive to church. It's really kind of an interesting system. I could go to giving, and I can make a gift here, a one-time gift. I can give to the general offering. Lots of payment methods. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. And then I can look at my profile. So this is Jeannie's profile, and you can see all of the basic information about Jeannie, including her birthday. And you can edit that information and make changes to it. You can take a new picture, those sort of things. It's the same as editing a person. And so those are kind of those basic functions. Let me go back to my presentation here. And so edit, profile, and sync. So I showed you where the profile was, and sometimes you'll see in the very bottom corner, you'll see a little circle that spins. Every time you log in, you're going to see that circle spin, and that is Shelby bringing current information to your phone. On occasion, if the Shelby database is not performing correctly, that will not go full circle, and that's when you have weird things that happen. And so when you see that sync, just kind of let it spin and come through all the way, and I think you won't have any problems with the Shelby app. Let's talk about attendance and guests in a little bit more detail. And so there's several changes we're going to touch on. The first change is that any team leader can mark attendance. So what we did is the same people who are listed in the group finder are also team leaders. So if you have someone that is doing attendance for you and you want them to continue, you may have to contact me and say, hey, add them to our team, so that they'll be able to do that. But anybody that's identified as a team leader or a teacher can do attendance. Okay, so that's a big change. Pay attention to the group and date. A lot of times we have people that will go back and will put attendance in and not put it in the right date or things like that. So that's that comment of, remember that, today is, if it's Monday, today is Monday. If it's Sunday, today is Sunday. But when you go back and you want to correct attendance, then you need to make sure that you change the date to specifically the date that you're looking for. Green, we touched on, is present. That is correctable, and so you can go back and add attendance, and you can also subtract attendance. The second change, and where I really want to spend a little bit more time, is in the guest prospect, those sort of things. But this is going to be important. Search first for guests, and what's the difference between a guest and a prospect. And so let's kind of dive into that real quick. And so if we go back to the cell phone and we go to attendance, and I'm going to pick the young professionals group. So now we're in my wife's attendance, and obviously green check marks, mark people present, and it's running the total up. But let's say you have a guest. And so let's say I'm going to be a guest in Jeannie's class. So we encourage you to write that on the roll sheet. But sometimes you may not get full information. I may just say I'm Larry. But I'm going to come in this time, and I'm going to say, hi, I'm Larry Stair. I'm going to be sitting in on your class today. So how do we add Larry Stair to our class? And so it is underneath the little thing. There's a search bar, and I can't get to it. Can I switch that to the other side? Nope. Nope. But anyway, if you search for an individual and they appear, you can search for everybody in our database now, then you would see Larry Stair. That's who I want. You press Larry Stair. It'll mark me in attendance in your group. That's pretty simple. Let's say you search for Larry Stair and I didn't show up. Then you could do the green button, and I want to point this out to you. Visitor placeholder is you could put Donald Duck in the visitor placeholder because what it does, it just counts a person. You could put visitor 1 or visitor 5, those sort of things. But if you put in Larry Stair, then as a placeholder and didn't search for me, it puts me in a special list. And if I click that list to add them to the class, then it duplicates them. So here's what we'd like to do. This is a relatively new change to Shelby, and I want to kind of talk about how we can make better use of it. So if you have a visitor, you put placeholder in, and let's say it is Luke Stair, my son, and he's just visiting in this class this Sunday. He's not really a prospect. He lives in Kansas, and I just put in Luke Stair. That's all I need to do. But let's say it's Luke's moved back home and Luke's visiting, and he fills out the green sheet, and we say, would you like to be a member? And then if you write on the sheet, add Luke to the class, and you put Luke in as a placeholder, it allows us to go click on Luke and very quickly add them to your group. And so this is a way of beginning to communicate with the office. Here are our visitors, and when we see the sheet, we're teaching our administrative assistants that if a visitor new member sheet comes in, that we try to match that with your group and move them accordingly. And so it'll help us get people into the system faster. Full person add is allows you to put in all of the information. The only problem with that is and encourage you not to do that, is it's very easy to get duplicate records, and we have to go through a process of adding them back together. So it's much faster and I think much more friendly to let them fill out a piece of paper and give us the information. And if they don't give us all the information, but we at least get them in the system, then we're able to update that as we move along. And so help us by searching first. If they're already in the system, just touch it. It marks them present. If they're not in the system, use the placeholder and with the green sheet so that we can match them up. The other thing that we're trying to do much better, and it really doesn't affect adults as much, but it does affect our children and our children's leadership, is getting families put together quicker in the system. Remember, Shelby deals with individuals. It doesn't deal with groups of people. And so everybody's an individual in the system, but we can put a rope around a family, so to speak, and it shows them as a unit when you look at them. And so helping us do that, getting in the adult sheet and with maybe the list of kids on it, that helps us kind of get all that together much quicker. And so we're doing more effective ministry with people. So that's that part of it. And so as we kind of look through this, I think I covered that. There's probably going to be some questions about this, but this is something hopefully you can watch over and over again. And so go to the next slide here. And so interactions. One of the big changes that happened in interactions is I've always told you, hey, you can just forward the email to somebody and they'll be able to do your interactions. Well, it's a very powerful system, and the third change that's been made is you can no longer forward a prospect interaction. It doesn't let somebody else change something that's been assigned to you. So now they kind of have to be reassigned. So if you get an interaction and then you can't complete it, the best thing to do is say in the note, assigned to, who it's was assigned to, and then submit that, go into the same person's interaction, and then assign that person to somebody in your group. It's a little clunky, but it beats the old paper system that we were trying to do, and so I think we'll get the hang of it. But I've told you all along, just forward that email. Well, they fixed something in the code and it no longer really does that. So just kind of be aware of that. So as you complete interactions, assigning them are really easy. I tried to like assign myself an interaction, but let's say let's just go look at an interaction, and I'll assign something to Larry to do. Okay, so I'm going to not be able to find myself. I really need that box to move. Oh, I did get it to move. So if I go search for Larry Stair, oops, can't so there I am. So there's Larry Stair. There's dots on the Android here in the corner, and you probably would do better if you could see it, couldn't you? So let me back up and show you that again. So I finally got my little icon to move. So I went to individuals, and I did search for Larry Stair. There I am. So I touched that. Brings up my information. I'm going to touch the three little dots. I'm going to touch interaction. So there's no interaction found. So now I'm going to do the little plus, and I can say I just want to log a visit or log a contact with Larry. I could select any of these, so I'm just going to do an email, individual, invited. I invited Larry Stair to Christmas on the Corner. And that's obviously I was speaking to my phone instead of trying to type all that. And now all I have to do is hit the check mark, and there's the interaction. Since I'm still in Larry's record, let's say I need Larry to do something. So let's have somebody that's joined your class and something's not happening. We didn't get them added fast enough or correctly, and you want to bring that to my attention. Well, you can go back to the interaction. You can say I need to add an interaction, and I'm going to make an assignment. And this will sound really weird because I'm going to assign myself, but I can do a office task, and I can assign this to, I think I can assign this to myself. We'll see. Yep, I can. So I'm going to assign Larry Stair to move to member in my class. I did that. Now if I put a due date, please do that by Saturday. Now, and then I tell it, okay, I just received an email, and you may even see it pop up on my phone, to move Larry Stair to that class. And so the more information you give, obviously, the better. But that's an easy way to like communicate to myself or to Karen Herholzer about things that need to get done for your group, and you don't have to be here. It pops up on our screens to like we have messages, and so just like we send you interactions, so that you can send us interactions as well. And so and you can do the nag. That's okay. That's that date field. If it needs to be completed by a certain date, definitely do that, because what happens is it sends a new email each day. So it's kind of it is a nag. And so get back in the presentation. And then the final thing is updating information. And so as you think about updating information, to be honest, you're often the best source of information on our members, because you talk with them every week, you know them, you know what's going on with them. But when you can go in and correct individuals' information in your groups. So if you get better information on a prospect, a different new email or a phone number, by all means go in and update it. And you can request updates to non-members that have been assigned to Karen or I. You can go both ways with this. But as you do it, remember this: we use a gatekeeper function or a control function to what you're really doing is you're suggesting a change, and then we have to approve that change. And so, but you can literally touch on anybody in Shelby and begin to make a change. And so let me get back over to Shelby here, and I'm going to go to individuals, and I should be able to look for testing. I can spell testing. Stare. And it didn't do it. Why did it not do it? Well, let's just pick this person here. Click the pencil, and now I can go through and I can edit any of these fields. It's because testing stare is not in my group. That's why I can edit people that are in my group and my prospect group. But anyway, anything that I change will notify Karen and I that there is a pending change. We review it. Basically, it keeps people from like renaming me Mickey Mouse or something and it appearing in the thing. And so it just gives us a chance to look at the information before it is fully published. Okay, that's a real quick rundown of some Shelby stuff. Let me touch on a couple of other things real quick, and we'll call this video done. So just a bonus, if you're working in a web browser, just know that the web browser is more powerful than the phone app. So there's things that are available to you from the web browser interface that aren't available on the phone. A lot of those have to do with dealing with absentees. You can go through and quickly select everybody who missed Sunday and send them an email message saying, hey, we had a great time in Bible study. Here's what we covered. Look forward to seeing you next week. Those types of things. There's a lot more. There's hardly any reporting that happens in the app. That's all web driven. You can look at attendance over time. You can get graphs. There's even one graph where you can look at sessions, a series of sessions. You can click on the dot, and it will show you who's present, who was present that week. It's easy to do mass contacts for prayer needs, lists, party email, fellowships, those sort of things. All function a lot easier in the web browser. So I would encourage you to get comfortable with both. And so I'm not going to take time to show you those things, but I did want to touch on them. But I have a question for you, and you can send this in to me by way of interaction if you want. Would a third group help you? Would it be beneficial to you if we put all of the individuals that are associated with your group in a special group to where they're not necessarily appearing in your attendance roll each week? So like somebody teaching in the youth division, we still want you to be able to invite them to fellowships and those sort of things, but they're someplace else, but they happen to come to your class. It's real easy to say, hey, they're present here today. If you use that in attendance, search first, then placeholder feature. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I started to do that, and I backed away from it, and I've been back and forth. And so I really want to know if it would be helpful to you to kind of get people who are associated with your group into a special leadership group so that your list maybe isn't so long for attendance, but you still have access to information to minister to them, invite them to fellowships, those sort of things. So send me an interaction. So let's see how that goes. And then, let's see, finally, we're to questions and answers. And so obviously you can't really talk back to me very much through the video, but you can stop me in the hall. I'd love to chat with you about things in this video or show you personally. There's a lot more things that Shelby can do for us and help us in our ministry. So just be aware of that. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And as we move through the season of Christmas on the Corner and all the special music, be sure and be reaching out and touching not your members, but your absentee members, those members who are serving in other divisions of our ministry, and your prospects. Make those fellowships big, joyful, and fun. And I'll see you Sunday. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.